the button called create MTA module from template. That's the one that you would go with. Okay. Now what we are looking for is a app router configuration. And here we would add a managed app router. It means an app router which manages individual application associated with that. So that's the thing which I mentioned. Each of the CAP project can have n number of Fiori applications associated with that. So if you would like to ensure that each of the applications routing and everything is maintained perfectly, you would go with a managed app router. Okay, that's the one that we are going over here. I'll just say I would like to have a managed app router for my sales app. Okay, and it says, do you plan to add a UI as well? I'll say yes. Go next. And now it does something. What it does is it prepares some sort of parameters for you. I had a module over here. I had a service module. I had a DB module. I had a, let's just say, now a destination content using which my application can communicate, which internally is having a HTML5 key associated with that. It also added some UAA service with that. Okay. And here I can see certain destinations generated, which would be used for your user service token exchange, okay, using which your application can now be validated. Okay, so these are the things that it just did. Now what we would do is, after having this, I would like to, let's just say, create a Fiori applications also. So I'll just say right click on this, and I would like to create one more MTA module on top of it. And I'll say SAP Fiori application. Okay, and let's just say here you have all the options. Okay, it's not the case that, okay, as I am mainly looking after, or let's just say a CAP, which is in a backend scenario, you cannot create a freestyle application. You can go with a basic or a custom page or any kind of application you would like to create. We are going with a list report because we know that we have annotations in place and it would ultimately generate the application that ultimately makes us understand how the application works. If you would like to go with freestyle, you can go with a freestyle application as well. Go next. Now the data source of it. Data source for my application definitely would be a service that I'll be deploying afterwards. But till the time it's not deployed and I would like to create a Fiori application, I'll always refer to the local CAP project. Now the idea behind this is the moment my CAP project gets deployed, the service instance which gets created, my Fiori application would be able to communicate to it. This is the main idea. Okay, this is the concept on which it would work. I would say choose the CAP project. I'll say, okay, this is the project that I would like to go with, BW Pro. Now it would say which service. Okay, so I'll just select the service that I have, which is nothing but a self-service for me. Okay, so I'll just go next. And I'll say which one is the main entity. I'll say sales data is the primary entity for me. Would you like to add the column if it does not exist automatically? I'll say no, I'll add it myself. And the table type would be responsive. You can change the table type as well if you want over here. Next. And then you would give a name of your Fiori project. I'll just simply say BTP UI cells. Maintain cells. Maybe let's just try giving the name in detail for the applications. It just got loaded. Okay. And post which now we would also say deployment configuration. We would need how the application would be deployed, how the Fiori launchpad would be looking alike. These are the things that we would also need. Go next. So it would be connected to a, let's just say, Cloud Foundry destination over here. And what we would do is we would say that the destination to which it would be communicating to would be the local CAP project API. Okay. this is where ideally it should be communicating to a instance-based destination. Okay, because if it's able to communicate to here, then maybe we would be able to see it also working. And I'll just say next, and then we would give it a semantics. Okay, now the semantic object of it. Okay, so what we would do is we'll give some semantic object using which my project also can navigate and can be made available on Launchpad. I'll just simply say cells manage. I'll just simply say maintain cells, and maybe let's just simply say I'll just say cap v4. There's a subtitle. That's just a simple Launchpad configuration. I'll just simply say finished. Okay, it's installing the dependency as we see, right? So maybe let's just wait for a while till the time it installs all the dependencies. Okay, so it says project has been generated. It shows us some option. What I'll do is I'll try to go in app folder over here, because there is a folder which contains my application. What application did we created? BTP UI cells. I'll expand this. Here I see a web app folder. So now maybe you would start getting the feeling of your UI project as well, a UI5 YAML and everything. I'll expand UI web app folder. I can see a manifest also coming up like we have in UI project. I can see it's generated, or I can say connected to my OData v4 cells as well. So it just generated a Fiori application here. Okay, and here I can see I18 test and everything. And if I would like to also create some extension, some fragment, some controller, everything like we used to do in normal Fiori application, you can do it here as well. Okay, and this is a routing which ideally would be managed by individual application, and that's the reason you would see that you are ideally having a normal app router like we used to have it in any other application. So as you can see, there is the one that we see over here, right? So it ultimately tries to navigate you to the right set of service over here. Okay, so there is something we just generated. Let's see how it looks like. I'll just say CDS watch profile hybrid. Okay, and here now we are also seeing a web application coming up. I click on this. And I can see application coming up over here. I'll click on this and I can see the data also coming up, and I can also create an application like this. Okay, so I can see an application which can be used by end user coming up, and this is not a Fiori preview this time. This is a real application. So if I can deploy this, I can also make it available for my end user to use on a launchpad. That's the idea behind it. So I'll just close this, and maybe we would see what all things I am supposed to do in order for me to make this application deployment ready. Okay. So what we'll do is I'll just go in my app folder, which has got the project, the one which we created. Okay. And we would go in the accessapp.json. Okay. Now it says when a call is coming from this particular source. Okay. It says when the call is coming from this particular source, there is a particular target where it should be navigated to. Okay, and this is how it should be looking like. Or I can say there is a destination. So which destination it is, I'll copy this over here, and I'll go in MTA YAML. Let's try looking for it, and I can see that my system has added a particular service over here, SRV API, SRV URL, and I can see this coming up over here. So it has added a destination also over here, which can help me understand how this particular destination would be looking alike. So it is now connected to a Fiori project also over here. So whenever my system is trying to connect to a Fiori, connect to my backend service via my Fiori application, there is a destination that it would go through. It would always connect to this particular destination over here, and this is how it would be connected. Now, what we would do is we would say that the OData service that it is referring to, right? So, for example, over here, it's maybe something that they gave as a /OData. Now, why would it do that? Because if I say in the test folder over here in the test HTTP, here we are having a path called OData something, right? OData, anything starts with OData, I guess that's the same information that it is trying to pass over here. Okay, and here at the same point in time, if I just also go in package app.json, here it has also added the UI dependency, saying, okay, this is the UI dependency that I do have, and this is how my UI project should also be connected to. Okay, so this is how it ideally looks alike. But yeah, one thing is for sure that maybe we do not have anything as such mentioned using which I can let's just say maintain the authenticity. So we have not added any excess UAA thing till now. Okay, it just got added over there, but maybe the authenticity part that we should be adding in the service is something which is missing yet. Okay, before we let's just say proceed with preparing my service which can get deployed. Okay, anyone has any doubt or anything to discuss till now? No? Okay, fine. So I can see this particular thing coming up over here. And now what we would do is we'll see, okay, well, how I can make my application deployment ready. Let's just say we'll go step by step, and I'll go in a folder over here called get ignore to see what all file it contains. So we should not anyway have the MTA archive, which it should ideally consider. At the same point in time, maybe whenever we would build, we would also see one more
So
folder come. Yeah, please.
actually, I have it. Normally we are directly doing the list report only, right? I mean, by default, it is running the list report only. So here also we have create a list report kind of.
Your voice is not a bit clear. Can you come again?
Okay,
See,
what I'm saying
normally,
is,
uh-huh.
I mean, normally when we create a service with and then when we click on Fiori preview, it will go to list report only, right? By default.
Not really. The idea is based on your set of annotation, it would go, right? I mean, the annotations that we were using are of the list report. That's the reason we are able to see the list report application,
Okay. So this, I mean,
right?
normally we are whatever the application, I mean, we have we have created. So all are
Mm-hmm.
of like list reports only.
Yeah, list
So
report
can
because
we,
yeah,
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 can we add a basic application? I mean, freestyle application. It said
that's
that can
yeah.
we add a table something?
Yeah, you can do that for sure. Like the way we added create MTA YML project over here, create MTA module, add a basic, and then maybe you can add the table and
I
the
mean,
stuff, and then you would get a project.
I'm confusing. I'm confusing where we can add the view and controller files. How we can add that?
Like when I add a project over here, create MTA YML, okay, over here, when you go with a Fiori application, when you would go next over here, you would get an option for a basic application creation. The moment you choose a basic app, you would give the name, then a project would get created. Now, the project that would get created would ultimately have the structure of the type of the project that you choose. As I choose the list report project, the folder structure which I'm getting over here is for the list report. Now, in this one as well, I might choose to have, let's just say, a folder which would be nothing for my extension. And in this extension, I can have my controller and fragments as well, right? So same way, when you are saying I would like to go with a, let's just a basic freestyle, you would ultimately be able to get the project which would be in the form of that of the basic application, which would be nothing but your view, fragment, controller, and all the stuff. So this there to help you setting up the application router configuration plus setting up your Fiori application. So if you can, let's just say, if you choose the relevant application over here, then that particular part would get generated. Okay. But as we are not, let's just say, focusing on UI over here, we are going with a list report application, which ultimately gives you some output. Otherwise, that would be part of your core UI application development. Okay, that's the idea. But the idea is I can guide you how you can do that. That's the thing. What I'm saying is, rather than choosing list report while you try it out, choose a basic one that would generate a project. Then it would be your responsibility because your OData service would anyway be connected. How OData service would be connected? Because your service application over here would ultimately would have got the required model over here, which would ultimately come and connect to your this OData V4 service over here. Okay, and post which it would be your responsibility to define and define the controls and bind the controls with the required service. Right? That's something that you can do always. Okay. Okay, so I just edit this, and now what we would do is I'll just try to go with a thing that we need, which is a deployment readiness. Here we have got, let's just say, certain packages. Let's just validate it has got everything that we need. I got at the rate SAP CDS, proxy, HANA client, Express, HANA DB. Maybe we are not having the security model that we ideally should have. Okay, so maybe what we would do is we would try to add security as well. Maybe we can also do it in a okay, maybe let's just do this. I'll just simply say okay, so it should add authorization of type access UAA also for me. The MTA YML, I think there should only be one access UAA project, not more than that. So I can see this UAA service of kind access UAA only one, so it means it's good. Okay, so I just can see access UAA authorization also coming up into picture. It's good. Okay, now as we are having it, we should also need access security. That's something which the system also added. So that's something which we can also see coming up. So my package.json file is something which is a bit ready. Now what we would need is access app.json readiness. Let's just validate that. What I can see is that I can have a source over here, okay, which should ideally be connected to this particular destination. Authentication type has been mentioned as a XSUAA. And if the CRUD operation are also something that we would like to make secure, I would like to mark the CSRF protection as a true. Okay, because once we do that, my CSRF protection would be in place, and without any authentication code, my system won't be able to go through any of those particular route. Okay. Now, there is one thing which I see coming up recently, which is this target. We ideally have a destination, so we may not need it. But let's see, if it doesn't work, we'll try to remove this. It seems it as if it's a recent addition, because earlier this is something that was not getting generated when you are generating a destination based routes. Okay, let's see, in case we need, we might end up redeploying it. Okay. Now, last but not the least, when it comes to your MTA YML, let's just have a look if it has all the things in place. I have a service over here, Node.js, and I have a, let's just say, a requirement of that as well. It says I'll need a database, I'll need a authentication also to be in place. Okay. And I have the system readiness, health endpoint, everything is also in place. I have a database deployer. Okay, post which maybe I can also see the destination. So these are all the sanity checks that you are ideally are supposed to do before you even proceed with your deployment activity. Okay, and I can see this particular things also coming up over here. And the destination that we are mainly relying on is this one, because this is a particular destination which would ultimately generate the required auth token for you, which would be a proxy type internet. And these are the two things that we are ultimately also using while we were using the destination configuration in a manual basis. Okay. So these are the things that we would ideally need. One thing which I still see missing, let's see if it works or if it fails, is this SRV API. I doubt my system, or I can say this one would be able to recognize. Okay, yeah, here it is, right? It should also add this in the requires, because this URL is ultimately a public variable, but there is something which is being exposed by my Node.js. As it has also added this SRV API, I can see this also working then. Okay. So this is how I can see maybe now it would work. So what we'll do is we'll try to, let's just say, clear this off and try to make this application. If let's see how it goes. I'll just try to install all the dependency. And now we would try to build my project. I'll just say MTA YML, right click, build the MTA project. What you would also see, I think, is something coming up as the resources. Now, these resources are nothing but a zip version of your Fiori project that would ideally get generated when you try preparing for the deployment. So your UI project over here would ultimately be compressed and considered as one of the resource that your project would need. So there is something which is quite important. Okay. This is what happens during deployment preparation, an archive file and a zip file of your project gets generated. Okay, now let's just say cf deploy MTA archive, and maybe let's just say this one. Let's see how it goes. It's trying to upload the HTML content. Let's see, meanwhile, what all things are getting generated into the system. Okay, so there are this BW Pro things you see. It just connected your HDA container. It also generated your HTML5 repository, XSUAA service. Okay, and now if I just also go over here, let's see if the service just came up. I mean, it's under process for sure, but here I should be expecting to see my HTML5 applications all the time. Okay, now here we would also be able to see the application that with the same name, right? This is a manage application router name. So service SRV, which is this Node.js part, I can see got made available. And it says, okay, process got finished. Let's refresh this. Okay, let's just try clicking on this. Let's see. Try to view the console, network, close this. It's trying to logging you in. I can see metadata just got loaded. I can see it's loading something. And I can see the application also coming up over here, you see. So I can see the application coming in, and maybe here if I just go and create one, I can see it also recognize my user ID and everything correctly, right? Maybe I'll just simply say on-call sales. I can say policy. Someone is sending, let's just say selling a policy of, let's just say then it would be a on-call sales, right? I can see this also coming up. The sales amount, let's just say 10,000 US dollar. I'll just save this. I can also see this coming up over here. Okay, so via the launchpad, I can see this, not the launchpad, but via the HTML5 application, I can see this coming up. Okay, now, in order for me to make this also available on launchpad, what I might do is I'll just go in the launchpad configuration that we just made available some time back, build work zone. I'll click on this. And here we are not able to see any site. I'll just click on this, which is also content manager. Here we also should have some content explorer. We'll see, okay, if I do have some HTML5 application, I don't see anything right now. I'll click on this. What is this option? There is a channel manager. And here I see that, okay, this was last updated on 9/16. So I would like to get the recent application which just got deployed. I'll just refresh this. I can see it just getting updated. It's still in updation phase. Okay, it just got updated. I'll click on this again. I'll click on Content Explorer, HTML5, and now I can see this coming up, right? So before we do anything, I'll just click on the topmost one, which is a site directory. Here I don't have any site. Let's just say I would like to prepare a site for dev. So I'll just say I would like to prepare a site for dev. Click on Create. Okay. And here, if you would like to also go over here, I'll just simply click on this, and I should see this also coming up. So here it bring us a random generated site ID, and there is maybe the Launchpad home page of it. But maybe there is a bit not useful because my user would be confused how it looking alike. Let me just give an alias to it. So I'll just say manage site alias. I'll just simply give it as a dev. So I know, okay, there is a dev application on which this getting navigated. So now if I ask my user to bookmark this URL for all the dev relevant application, I can mark this, consider it as a launchpad for that. Okay. Now I'll just close this and I'll say I would like to go in the content manager. Okay. And in the content explorer HTML5 application, select this and I'll just add this application in the normal applications manager over here. So I can see this coming up. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll just simply create a group over here, call it just say CAP apps, and I'll add this over here. I'll just say save. Go back over here. I can see this particular group coming up, CAP application. I'll just go, let's just say over here in everyone. Okay. Let's see what all things we see over here. It says there is a maintained cells. I'll just say, okay, assign this as well. So now this particular application, if I just go over here, click on this, I can see this application coming up as a tile now. Okay, and I'll click on this, navigating me here. You see this cells manage, the one which we just mentioned earlier. There is something that's coming up. If I just click on go, the data that we just created from the central DB, that's something which is coming up, and I can see this application working the way expected. So this is how we can make the application also available from multiple environment for sure. Okay, so if let's just say there are some application which you are developing using RAP, there are some application you are, let's just say, consuming some S4HANA data from, all those information can be made available in a single Launchpad site, and my end, these would become my end user URL. All he need is a external user role assigned on his ID in order for it to view it.